Good morning and welcome to Spotlight from downtown at the Cube. We begin today with UAW Vice President James Jimmy Settles Jr. What impact does he want to have on auto workers, automakers, and the community? And later, President and CEO Mark Wallace will talk about the vision for downtown's West Riverfront Park. It's Sunday, August the 27th. I'm Chuck Stokes, and this is Spotlight from downtown Detroit. And welcome to Spotlight, James Jimmy Settles, one of my guests today on our program. Good having you back on Spotlight.
Hey, thanks, Chuck.
All right, I think last time I interviewed you, you were being honored by the Black United Fund.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
A few years ago,
right,
so
yeah.
Good having you back.
Yeah.
The UAW, historic organization, has a big footprint all across this country and to a great extent all across the world. But let's talk about community. Let's leave autos aside for just a second. What in your mind as a UAW Vice President should be the role in 2017 of the UAW as it impacts community?
Well, I think, you know, per our Constitution is what we're supposed to be doing anyway. So 17 is just a continuum, in my opinion, what in my particular case we've been doing since 2006. Mm-hmm. And that's just engaged.
That's when you took office.
Yeah.
All right.
We're engaged to not only with our members where they work at, but also the communities they live in. We feel as if that we don't just represent our members, we also represent the community. So we spend a lot of time community building.
Right. You have numerous programs. We're coming up on Labor Day. Mm-hmm. That's certainly a big event. You're going to be out there. I hear you're going to be giving away food? Yes.
For the last 4 years, we do Meals on Wheels. And that is probably one of the most delightful events of the year. We deliver meals to seniors on Labor Day because, you know, many seniors just don't have anything to eat that particular day. Right. And so we do that. We prepare the day before that, and then we deliver. We have about over 100 volunteers come out to do that,
wow.
The delivery, and about 200 actually do the preparation. So.
Okay. You're also impacting women. Mammograms, you're going to be doing that. Free examinations?
Yes, we do free examinations, and I tell you, I got just outstanding staff. You know, I kind of take a little credit for that, for getting them there, but they do an outstanding job of doing mammograms throughout the Detroit area. I
know you, and I know that youth are very, very important. And you've made sure that the UAW has put its footprint on recreational activities for young people here. Why is that so important? And talk about some of the things that you've done.
Okay, it's really important to me, especially for the youth in Detroit. And I was blessed to be born and raised in the city of Detroit, and we had many, many recreation facilities. Church doors were open. We had, you know, dancing, roller skating. We had YMCAs. We had boys club. We have organized youth day in school and at church, and it was just a lot to do. But these kids nowadays, we don't have any YMCAs. Only one in the city of Detroit, that's downtown. Very few boys club, and they have very few options. So we want to make certain that we can provide options for them. One of the things that we did a few years ago is to build a ballpark, a Little League ballpark.
Yeah, it's a great ballpark, too.
Thank you. And one reason why we did it, we took a bunch of kids to play in a state tournament in Battle Creek. I'll never forget this. And they were just all at the stadium and the fields that they played on. And afterwards, you know, we had a conversation with kids and said, you know, how come you didn't play well? They said, you know what? We couldn't stop looking at the lights. We never get a chance in Detroit to play on the lights or to play in a ballpark that, you know, is not weed infested or got glass and rocks. Sure. So we got together and said, you know, we're going to come up and build this world-class ballpark. I'm really proud we not only did one, we did two. 2 years later, we did another. And to be honest with you, the community really takes care of it. The kids really love it. I think it makes a better individual. As you know, there's so much blight around this city. We donated, I probably shouldn't say the amount of money, but millions of dollars into Detroit public schools so they can have fine arts, so they can have music, so they can have gym. Because in their normal curriculum from K to 8, they don't have it. We're really embarking right now into a major endeavor with Detroit Public Schools with the music program. We also do chess. We have after-school programs at 5 different schools. We sponsor summer camps in 4 different schools. We did it for the last 4 years. We also have an outstanding chess team that we started in school. We have for the first time, we had a great debate. We had over 800 kids from around the Detroit area come in. We brought in,
able to get the academic side in there as well.
And we brought in Spelman College.
In Atlanta.
Yeah, and Morehouse.
All right,
to
in
participate
Atlanta, my alma mater.
Yeah. And then University of Michigan Dearborn in Central Michigan. And they put on an exhibition for us, and it was outstanding. We had 800 kids from the Detroit area.
All right, very good. We need to sneak a little break in here. When we come back, I want to shift gears a little bit, and I want to talk cars and politics a little bit with UAW Vice President Jimmy Settles. We'll be right back. Don't go away. UAW Vice President Jimmy Settles, one of my guests today on Spotlight. Jimmy, when you hear people say negative things about unions, what's your reaction? Does that bother you, given all the things that you just enumerated that the UAW is doing in the community, in the neighborhoods, not just downtown and midtown, but actually where the people live, and not just in this city, but all across this country?
Yes, it does. To be honest with you, it does. But, I think it's just lack of education. I remember a few years ago when my kids were in college, one went to Tennessee State, the other one went to Fairview. And they invited me down because it was in the South and said, Daddy, every time I bring up about what you do, they just crucify me. Why don't you come down and talk to the kids? And I did. And really, they're very intelligent kids, obviously, but they had very, very little knowledge about unions. And, when I explain what a union does.
A lot of stereotypes.
That's right. And you can see the conversion right there. I think a lot of people are anti-union because, they don't know enough about what the union does. It's unfortunate if something negative comes up that gets the headlines, but some of the positive things we do as a union, you never get a chance to read about. So unless you're really involved, you really don't. I think the majority of it, that people don't understand exactly what the union do. Then we help build this middle class. And
a lot of times it's just communication. New head over at Ford Motor Company. Yeah. Have you had a chance to meet him yet?
Yes, Mr. Hackett. I have met with him a couple times. I think he's going to be a very good leader. He's a very people-oriented person. Bill Ford just does an excellent job of picking leaders. And I think he did a very good picking this one. And Mr. Hackett.
How concerned are you as a union leader that he's not a car guy? He doesn't come from a car background, and cars, trucks, that's what this is all about.
Yeah, well, we had a great one just left us, Alan Mullally, who did not build cars.
He came from airplane background.
Yeah. And I think it's enough people that actually know the car business. As you know, if you're CEO, it's more direction and leadership. So I'm not concerned at all. I mean, I know that he's been a part of manufacturing with that steel case, and he has some very good people working with him. I don't think that is really a problem.
Yeah. If you could send him a message here, not that you won't do it in private, but one that the public might be interested, what would that message be?
I think that, at least in my initial conversation with him, that he's really a people person. He's a very innovative, advanced thinking person, but he understands that people are part of the equation, and is the number one part of the equation. So I kind of got that feeling from him that that he's not here just to see how much money a corporation can make. He wants to see how he can make America better, and how that he can work with the workforce to do the things that need to be done.
All right, we're headed into Labor Day weekend. Labor Day is one of those times in the year in which you have to think about unions because they're so involved. Labor Day picnics all across this country. There'll certainly be a big one here. And the politicians love to be seen with unions and others on Labor Day. Given the tenor and tone of the state and, more importantly, probably the country right now, your concerns?
Oh, I have some real concerns, especially nationally, the direction that this country is going. I never thought I'd see this day again. I remember in the late 60s when we had this division that we have now. But more locally, I think this is time for us, good people, to get together. I think what happens during times like this, good people are too silent. And I think Labor Day, we're going to make a big event out of this to just let the country know that we are one. And not only just talking about organized labor. I mean, labor is anyone that doesn't own. And just to pay homage to the fact of what working men and women do around this country.
Do you feel as though unions have a role to play in sending maybe a more active and a more stronger message, given the tenor and tone and given the history of the UAW, the Walter Reuther, the Ernie Loftons, the Horace Sheffields? They were very much engaged in that civil rights struggle, but this is 2017.
Yeah, I think we always can do a better job, and I think that we have made some statements, but we need to continue to make statements. We need to continue to talk about the real problems of racism in this country. I know we just left an executive board meeting last week, and really we got together for that. This is even before the latest tweets, and said that we cannot be silent on this. And you'll see many articles come out and many demonstrations like we used to do back in the day, bringing people together so we can talk about this nation divide that we have.
All right. Jimmy Settles, thanks so much for coming in, sharing your thoughts and your wisdom and education about the UAW, and we will definitely get you back.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
And coming up, we'll sit down with the president and CEO of the Detroit Riverfront Conservancy. Don't go away. And welcome back to Spotlight. Joining me now is Mark Wallace. He is the president and CEO of the Detroit Riverfront Conservancy. Welcome to Spotlight. Welcome to the Cube, our home downtown.
It's great to be here. It's a beautiful spot.
And it's most appropriate given the fact that we're going to be talking about something that's just a few blocks away. That's right. That's the riverfront, but we're talking about the West Riverfront. You're trying to come up with visionary plans for the park there. Tell us a little bit about that.
That's right. Well, we're really excited about this. West Riverfront Park is right behind the Joe Louis Arena site. So anybody who's come down Rosa Parks, there's a big field there. It used to be the Free Press printing factory.
I remember.
We're really excited about transforming this. We purchased this several years ago, and we have the resources now to dream big about what the future of that site means to the Corktown community, the Southwest, the Mexican Town community, and also to our region.
You're going about that process not just by yourself in a solitary way. You've got, what, a 21-person advisory committee?
That's right. We're really excited about this. The Riverfront has a legacy of involving the community in everything that we do and really asking the community what they need. We don't want to build something that competes with other parks in the city. We want to build something that the public is going to absolutely love. That's been really successful for us over the past 15 years our organization's been in business. So we assembled a community advisory team of 21 people from Detroit. And guys like me, I'm lucky because I get to travel around the country, see these great parks, talk to the people who manage them and run them. But most Detroiters, they're busy, getting their kid to school, paying the bills.
Sure.
So we assembled a group of 21 people. We split them up into 3 teams, and we had them bring a +1. So they bring a friend.
How did they get on that committee? And how diverse of a committee is it?
It's an incredibly diverse committee. We started with our volunteers. We have about 350 volunteers who work on the riverfront. And we started with them, and we said, tell us about people who love the riverfront. Tell us about people who are connected in the community, but people we might not know. Because you have public meetings, and a lot of times it's the same 50 people who show up to every meeting. We really wanted to get to the people who are likely to use this space and love this space. So it came through referrals, and people nominated other people. And that group has really become sort of the lifeblood of what we're doing in terms of engaging. And we've taken them to Philadelphia, Chicago, and New York City. And in each place, we go to 5 or 6 parks. We talk to the people who run them. We talk to people who are in the parks. We ask them what works and what doesn't work.
What's been the feedback from the advisory committee once they've made these trips? Has it been eye-opening? You always hear that old term, don't let your vision be reduced to the length of your nose.
What I'm really excited about is that the appetite of the Detroiters is really robust. They want this to be a world-class park. They want this to be everyone's favorite space. We have great assets in Detroit with Campus Martius, with Belle Isle, with the East Riverfront.
You got the new Beacon Park over at DTE.
But to have 22 acres to play with is kind of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. A lot of times park space is just whatever's left over when you build the buildings.
Right.
This is an opportunity for us to build the public space first and have the buildings really come second. So,
so size-wise, give us a rough comparison. I think most people have been to Campus Martius.
Yeah.
A lot more getting over to the Beacon Park at DTE Energy. Is this smaller, larger?
So you could take Campus Martius and do it 6 times in the footprint of this park.
Okay.
So it's really substantial. If you've been to Chicago, it's the same size as Millennium Park.
Same size?
Same size.
That's a huge park. I've been there.
Yeah.
Great park.
It is. So we're really excited. The other thing we're hearing the Detroiters say is some of them just love what we've done on the East Riverfront. So it's hilarious. Every now and then they'll pull us aside and be like, I kind of like what you did better. Or they have an appetite that's even expanded beyond what we've seen in other places. So it's also great when they pull us aside and say, I'm learning a lot from this place in New York or this place in Philadelphia, but Detroit can do better. And we firmly believe that this can be a park that other people from around the country come to and realize how proud we are as a community.
What's the timeline for getting this done?
So we have a design competition which has been funded through the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation.
Which is based in Southville.
Based in Detroit and Buffalo, and we're really excited.
Yeah, he used to own the Buffalo Bills,
That's
for
right.
those of you who don't know. Yeah, but he's a Detroiter, even though he owned the Bills.
Absolutely. And their team, their leadership, and their board have been so supportive of this work. They want us to dream big. They want this to be a place that absolutely folks love. So they've helped us support the design competition phase, and we should have some designs come back to us in early next year so we can actually see what some great visionary designers think about the site. In the interim, we're going to be reaching out to the community. So that advisory team is the heart and soul of what we're doing. They're going to help introduce us to a future network, and we're also going to still go to some church basements and have some community meetings at high schools. So
now, if you're just an average person, you're sitting on your sofa right now watching us, and you have an idea, how do they get that idea to you, or can they?
That's right. We would love to hear about it. So you can come to us through DetroitRiverfront.org. There's great information about our programming, great information about the design competition. You can read all of our documents. All of our meetings are going to be public. When we interviewed our teams, we did that in public as well. And when we present these, it's not going to be behind closed doors. It's going to be out in the community. So feel free to email us and reach out to us through social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or through our website, DetroitRiverfront.org.
All right, social media galore. We'll take a little break. We'll come right back, and we'll pick up and talk about that transparency and just where you see Detroit going.
Great.
We'll be right back. Don't go away. And welcome back to Spotlight. Mark, you've been in position now of being president and CEO for how long?
About 3 years.
About 3 years, okay. Before you, Faye Nelson was running it, who's now over at DTE Energy. So she knows something about Riverfront. She also knows something about parks now.
She does.
And I'm getting the sense, in a very friendly way, that there's real competition going on between downtown development and downtown partnership organizations about this various public spaces, and each one wants to sort of outdo the other one. Am I right?
Well, it's interesting. I think competition is usually a healthy thing. In this case, those are my best friends. I mean, Eric Larson, Faye Nelson, those are people I've looked up to for a long time. They've been really close friends. What I see is Detroit as a community is special when people come together.
I'll tell you something funny about it. I interviewed Faye Nelson, excuse me interrupting, at Mackinac, and it was before they unveiled the Beacon Park. And we were talking about Campus Martius, and I said, here, you guys got something coming online. And she looked in the camera and she said, bring it on. Okay, so I think, she laughed about it.
That's hilarious. Well, from what I see, Detroit is special when there are places for us to come together. And, we're a big city. We're pretty spread out. Transportation is difficult for a lot of people, but those pockets where families feel safe, where you have educational opportunities, where you have cultural opportunities, that's really what makes a city a special place. You start with your jobs, then you build your houses, and then you build your public realm. And I feel like Detroit for a long time didn't have the resources to support those public spaces. And now we have a series of them, sort of a connected series of public spaces in downtown and midtown, along the riverfront, and increasingly, as the mayor has built his 40 parks out in the neighborhood, we're starting to see public spaces come back to the neighborhoods as well. So I applaud Mayor Duggan and his efforts to really bring great space to the community. We're looking at opportunities for greenway connections like the Inner Circle Greenway, which is also supported by the Ralph Wilson Foundation. And what you do on the Riverwalk is going to be different from what you do on Campus Martius and different from Beacon Park. And I think the community can support all of these. And I've been amazed by how many people come out. It's those are really special places.
You've done the traveling along with the advisory committee. What did Mark Wallace see that just really blew him away and said, if I could duplicate that here in Detroit, I'd love to be able to do it? I know it's not your decision alone, but if you could have a little bit of influence.
Well, for me, I think one of the great places for people to interact is when their kids are playing together. I love the idea of two family members sitting side by side, the kids are off here doing their thing, and we start to talk. I feel like that's a really important moment, and that's something that our city could use more opportunities to do. So when I went to Maggie Daley Park in Chicago, I could quibble with some of the design decisions that they made, but that playground area is the biggest. It's like a free Walt Disney World playground, and I would love to see that here in Detroit. So my guess is we'll have some sort of a play feature that's so significant, so beloved by the community that people will be driving people will be driving an hour from out of town to get to this playground. And hopefully that's a great way to introduce some people from the whole metro region to the city of Detroit.
Two quick final questions. If you're an artist, not an architect, but an artist, is there going to be an opportunity for you maybe to submit an idea to say, because oftentimes public spaces are identified by something that's permanent there, that when you go there and you visit it, you remember that, or you say, meet me at the such and such, which is at that particular park.
That's exactly right. And on the East River front, we have that. We have the carousel, we have the fountain in front of General Motors, we have the splash pad at Mount Elliott. We definitely need that symbolic thing. We need the place on the West River front where it's meet me by the Bean in Chicago, for instance. I think we will probably have an iconic piece of public art there.
All right, and on a personal note, have a little history with Channel 7.
That's right.
Public doesn't know that Eric Smith, who was with us for so many years, is your uncle?
He is my uncle. He's one of my favorite people in the world, and he always had the best stories about Detroit. One of my first experiences in the riverfront was coming down to the soup kitchen for Uncle Eric's 25th anniversary. Willie D. Warren was playing the guitar down there in the flats, so it's got a long history there, a lot of it through Uncle Eric.
And do you love jazz and blues as much as he does?
Not as much as he does, but I love jazz and blues.
All right, and we should also say congratulations to Eric Smith, who just a few days ago was inducted into the Michigan Association of Broadcasters Hall of Fame. Welcome to the club, Eric, and well deserved and long overdue. I'm Chuck Stokes. We'll be back next week with more newsmakers in the spotlight. Have a great Labor Day. Mark, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And best of luck with this project.
Thank you.
Have a great week.